I've been playing Final Fantasy since 2016, and I've done everything from raiding with a static to doing relic weapons. And I wanted to find a new way to challenge myself, and inspired by people like Settled with their no-hit RuneScape account, I decided I'm going to try the same thing for Final Fantasy and see how far I can actually get. So the rules of the run are simple. I cannot take damage of any kind. I cannot use the market board or trade with other players. I can't use the mailbox to get veteran rewards, and I cannot use other players to complete content. On paper, this challenge seems pretty impossible. There's so many different ways that you can take damage in Final Fantasy, but I think with some creative solutions, we might be able to make it work. And the very first thing we actually have to figure out is what class I'm going to use. There's a few different options, and Bard seems like it'd be the most obvious one at first, as being able to hit enemies on the move and kite them seems like it would be the best option. But the problem with that is that there's too many enemies that have ranged attacks or can instantly hit you. For example, the cave toads are always going to pull you in if you don't kill them instantly, which means that the best answer is actually going to be Arcanist. And that's simply for two reasons. One, Arcanist gets a shield at level 2 that is for 20% of your max HP. And the second reason is that at level 10 we have Energy Drain and Fester, which is going to give us a lot of burst potential, hopefully killing most of our enemies before they can get to us. And the next biggest decision is what race we're going to play. And you may be thinking that, it's Final Fantasy, the race doesn't really matter, but in this case it does. And that is due solely to Radius Aegis. We need as much HP as possible to give us the biggest shield we can possibly have, which means that we need to go through every single race and see which character will give us the best vitality, and preferably a high intelligence, since that's going to be the primary stat of Arcanist. So going through the character list, I start to make an Excel spreadsheet giving the vitality and intelligence for each race and its sub-race. I'm not including things like strength and dexterity, as it won't really matter for this challenge, which leads us to the Helgard Rogadin as the race that we're going to use. And thankfully those stats are not gender specific, so I don't have to stare at this dude for hours at a time. With our account made, let's see how far I can push our character. We start off our story in Limsa Lominsa as we're playing an Arcanist, and it's our starting city. We go downstairs to complete our first quest, which brings us all the way up to level 3. Which gives us access to Carbuncle, our pet, which is used to deploy our most important ability, which is our Argus Shield, which at this moment will give us a shield of 26 before we start taking damage. Oof, this is going to be rough. Starting off, I need to do every quest that's safe, as every level I get gives me more HP, which will effectively give me a bigger shield to work with, as well as continuing to unlock more of my kit. I also have to start doing quests because I have no way of actually making money right now, and every gil is going to be important because I'm going to need to get better equipment to kill enemies faster. And after completing everything I possibly can complete in Limsa Lominsa, I'm level 5 and I'm ready to go outside to fight things like rats and ladybugs. But before I start fighting, I go down to the windmill, where an ex-pirate tells me I need to buy better equipment. And after spending most of our money, we are now item level 4. And turning in that quest, we end up hitting level 7. But it also brings us to our first major roadblock of the main storyline, which is going to be the quest Lurkers in the Grotto. This quest is particularly challenging because of an instance where we're trapped in a cave with a boss and 6 mobs that will always try to attack us. We only have 1 shield right now, and as you can see, my shield is not exactly particularly large. And what's worse, that this instance locks you to level 9, so I can't overlevel it and just one-shot everything. So to start off, I think our goals is going to be 1, defeat Lurkers in the Grotto, and 2, let's complete the first page of the hunt log. But most of you are probably aware of these purple smoke patterns or purple circles that you'll find in the overworld when doing quests. And you know it means that you're about to fight a mob if you interact with an item or enter an area. But sometimes this doesn't even happen in AAR. Sometimes you're just trying to complete a quest where you're picking oranges and a bee comes out of nowhere and almost ends your entire run. This bee straight up gave me PTSD for the rest of this challenge. I was second guessing everything. I literally tried to help this sheep. It said it looked relieved. I know that I have 2 more sheep, and I thought that maybe one of these other sheep were going to attack me. And now I've gotten to the point where I've done every single quest and I only have combat quests left. So nervously I start combat with the level 1 rat, hoping that I wasn't about to waste about 2.5 hours worth of work. And it turns out that I might have overdid it. Turns out that rats are pretty slow and weak. Who would have guessed? Oh, okay. I really thought that was going to be a lot more dangerous. Okay. Whew. With my newfound strength, I start to grind ladybugs and rats, carefully making sure that they never get close to me, and I'm always at max range, and eventually get to level 9 doing so. And before I can start the hunt log, I need to get to level 10, as Fester is going to be a huge part of making sure we can kill mobs instantly. After my grind, I go around and complete the quest that had me kill monsters, eventually making my way back to the Arcanist Guild, who gives me access to the hunt log, as well as giving us some raisins, a food item that gives us 1 vitality. With a bunch of gil in my pocket, I go and I update my equipment, getting ready to complete part of the hunt log. I'm now at item level 6 and wearing literally the worst outfit in all of Final Fantasy, but the gear gives me more armor and magic resist, so it is what it is. My first 2 targets on the hunt log is the ladybugs and rats that I've been grinding for the last 45 minutes. So I get to max range and I take them out, 2 down, a bunch more to go. Next on the hunt log is a creature called a pack hatchling. They're pretty easy to deal with as they always put an AoE underneath your feet, which gives you plenty of time to dodge and kill it. After that is a tiny Mandragoria. They're pretty slow, so we can just kite them back and use Rune until we take them out. Afterwards, we start killing some Lost Lamb for our hunt log, and we hit level 10, giving us our full combination of Energy Drain and Fester for a lot of burst damage. Those Lost Lamb were also part of a quest, so we go back to town and turn them in, using the money to upgrade our gear, and also get rid of the worst outfit in the game, and instead getting the worst hat in the game, bringing up our item level a single point to level 7. And while I'm shopping around Limsa Lominsa, I find that a vendor sells pots of intelligence and pots of vitality. I also rearranged my UI just to make sure my pots are easily accessible. Now that I'm level 10, I can now Now that I'm level 10, I can do the combination of Rune 1, Energy Drain, and then Fester to kill the toads in a single GCD rotation. There's still a real possibility that I miss one of my abilities and the toad pulls me in and kills me, so I need to use my shield every single time I pull a mob. Afterwards, I go to the mist and check out the vendors there, though nothing immediately catches my eye. I pick up the dodos, which are just simply one shot by the Energy Drain Fester rotation. The level 5 Arcanist quest puts me in close proximity to 2 mobs, so before the fight I pop my Potion of Vitality to give me a little bit of extra HP for my shield, and I take him out using my burst combo. I rent a chocobo and go down to lower Limsa Lominsa to continue the hunting log. The nesting buzzard is able to be one-shot, but afterwards the Galago has an instant range hit, so without my Arcanist shield, this run would be over. And as I'm about to complete the hunting log, I have the luckiest encounter of the run. I realize that as I'm fighting a wild jackal, I realize I have enough timer on my shield to take out the last Thunder Sprite. And as I'm looking at my level up and the hunting log being complete, a wild jackal spawns directly behind me and targets me. Luckily, the wild jackal ended up using a charged attack, which gave me the opportunity to run away, but if that jackal was to auto attack, the run would be over. With the hunting log complete and my heart rate plenty high, I decide that it's time to stop procrastinating and try to take on the Lurker in the Grotto. And the reason why we didn't do Lurker in the Grotto as soon as we hit level 9 is because level syncing isn't perfect in Final Fantasy XIV. It's one of the reasons why you'll hear a lot of Ultimate Raiders say that as years go by, the Ultimate fights become easier because the level sync isn't perfect, and you'll end up having slightly higher stats or just generally speaking do more damage than what was initially intended for the fight. How this fight works is that Y'shtola is going to tank the main boss for the entirety of the fight. Once the boss reaches about 75 HP, mobs spawn at the entrance of the cave and make their way to the player. The mobs will stay still for about 5 seconds unless the player attacks them first. After the first set of mobs, the second set of mobs spawn about 10 seconds afterwards, and this third set spawning about 5 seconds after the second set. Unfortunately, the best play is a little bit risky as I need to use my shield the moment that the first mob is about to hit me, in order to make my shield last for the entirety of the fight. Ah, thank you, random people playing music. This will be perfect outro music. I'll put the battle logs of that fight over here on the side just because I accidentally forgot to hit the battle icon. That fight was actually insane on how close it was. But with Lurker in the Grotto being complete, I'm able to continue the main storyline, and there's only one more instance before I can get access to all the towns. And after researching it, I'm pretty sure it is possible. I just have to do some preparation for it. But if you like this style of video, consider subscribing. These types of challenges require a lot of research to make sure that you're not going to get killed by something silly. I do some pretty shitty PvP guides, and I'm also considering doing some pretty unhelpful savage raiding guides. Anyway, hope you all have a great day.